On top of the morning to you guys out there, and for whatever reason you've decided to swim on by and take a peek at another video. I don't know what's wrong with you guys. I'm always going to tell you that you guys have mental issues if you want to look at this kind of content. But I'm there with you, and this is my therapy, isn't it? This is what we kind of we come here for. This is a squeaky chair. This is a Peavey Bravo 112 sent to me from the great state of Michigan. Or is it Ohio? Or is it Florida? Or is it Louisiana? No, it's not. It is indeed the beautiful state of Michigan. And it was sent here for some service, because this amp, while performing well, needs to stay that way. And as you guys know, I sure love these old Peaveys, especially these teal stripes. I always look for these guys, even the old solid state stuff, man. I love the circuitry of the teal stripes. Some guys will be like, no man, the silver or the red, but I'm a teal guy when it comes to these. So I literally just unpacked it. There are no tubes installed yet. All the levels are off. And maybe I'll see if I could pan over with this this camera stand without making you guys seasick, you know. And let's see if she shorts out with no tubes in. This will be the first thing I check when you guys give me temporary custody of your visitation rights with your amps. So amp is plugged in to the current limiter. Let me make sure it's switched on in circuit, and then we'll go ahead and hit the old on switch. The relays immediately energize. The fan turns on. The fan and the bias are on the same circuit. So I imagine if your fan goes out, you're in a deep doo-doo. So no shorts, nothing obvious, at least on the power supply end with respect to the power transformer. We don't have any shorted caps across the hot and the neutral. That's always nice. But as I look inside the chassis, I see this amp is holding a secret. Let me see if I can maneuver this. Again, you guys, if you see my crotch, then it's your lucky day. But let me see if I can get this crazy stand maneuvered. Oh, there we go. It's kind of getting there, huh? What do you think? Let's see if I could sweep over and then show you guys what I'm referring to. Look at that. And I can't zoom in on this camera setting. This is the soft core adult love setting that kind of softens up the edges. But what I'm looking at here, and for the next videos, I'll take it off of this particular mode. There was a dude who went in here before me, and what did he do? Well, he took the easy way out on a very rudimentary power supply recap. He didn't bother to remove the circuit board. He literally just cut the leads as close to the old cap bodies as he could, and didn't even bother doing like the old double J hook trick. He literally just tack soldered these guys together. And that's frightening. So, and then the other, let's see, the main reservoir cap is in the same condition. This one's much more obvious. Let's see if it'll focus on my chopstick, but boop, there it is. So this board may appear familiar to you guys who are familiar with Peaveys. It's got a lot of the DNA from a chassis construction perspective, as I'm not going to say that the lower powered classic models, but if you've ever been inside of the guts of a classic 50, then you know what this is. This is your tube cage, and everything's horizontal. on these. So an EL84 can withstand that orientation. Look at the old Voxes. They do that all the time, don't they? But that's what we're kind of looking at. So I'll get some things switched around for the next video. Maybe I'll just try to go hands-free on that one, because when I'm not doing like component deep dives, then I think maybe this, or actually maybe sound clips going forward, I think this particular stand is not going to be too useful for us here. But anyway, here's a little something to wet the old whistle. So you guys take care out there this morning. I hope you're well. I hope you're fine and all that good stuff. And see you soon. What up? What up? I'm back in it. Gonna get my fancy chopstick. The one with the with the dragon on it. Because when you're, you know, messing around with a 1990 hard rock amp, you got to pull out the special stuff. Look at his eyes. See if I can even get in on that. They're usually kind of crossed, which makes them kind of comical looking. But I love it. It's a culture thing. All right, so I'm going to keep this thing on a stand for now. Point out a couple obvious things that I typically look for with these old amps. And then maybe I'll bust this camera loose, and then I'll show you the corresponding items on the actual schematic and layout diagram themselves. You don't need the layout diagram, the actual board is, isn't it? So what goes bad on a lot of Peaveys is you have this cap here that that's purpose is to suppress any kind of line noise, any sort of like RF noise coming through your sockets there in the house. Because you got noisy stuff, you know, swimming around the neighborhood. And you want to get that stuff filtered out before it makes its way into the power supply and then over to the sensitive end of the board, which is on the preamp side. All that stuff gets literally magnified or amplified, as it were, as it goes along through each gain stage. So the little noise in the beginning becomes a tremendous, monstrous sound at the end, and you don't want that. So here's like the first line of defense. And normally, Peavey would run a Y2 class cap from the neutral line to ground to do that purpose. But then sometimes they take an X2 class cap and they run it across. And there's that helicopter again. They're always looking for me, always searching. So they'll take this particular cap and they'll strap it across the neutral and hot, and quite literally, before it hits the rectifiers. And what they'll do is they'll try to scrub noise out that way as well. So these do like to fail. I mean, especially on the 6505 and 5150 amps. If your amp with no tubes installed is blowing fuses right when you plug it in, then this is the reason why, or it could be the reason why. And then we've also seen like some of the diodes, the protection diodes on the plate string will short to ground, and then you'll get that too. So, you know, this is just a starting point for troubleshooting. What else? So as we move in, I mean, obviously you have your first filter cap, the reservoir, which was subject to some pretty shoddy work. And let me see if I could zoom in, because sometimes you see these little details, and after working enough, you kind of, you know what these are. Those little striations on the leads, well, that was because the dude was using a pair of forceps to squeeze these guys together prior to soldering. And I bet I could just poke that sucker and it'll pop right off. And these are the rectifiers that I was referring to right there. Let's see. What else? Moving on down. Coming on down. And, oh, these diodes here supply pulsating DC or negative to these two caps here, which are responsible for the relay switching matrix and all the little op amps here on board that drive like the reverb, things like that. And for some reason my AirPods just connected. And then if I scoot, if you look here to the north, but it also supplies power to the fan. And then remember I was saying that that same negative DC supply also powers your bias circuit. So this particular cap here, and I'm trying to look through my phone while I point this sucker, this is something that needs to get changed. And these are things that need to get measured. Proactively change the bias filter cap, because if these short, then you can kiss your tubes goodbye. Since I'm on that end, I'll just skip a bunch of stuff and move north over to the phase inverter, which will be the third tube, or V3, or the third valve. If you're in Europe, boop, there we go. There's the first preamp tube, second, third. So the way this one is situated, these are just cathode bypass caps here. You have your bias supply enters through a set of resistors that are also tied, they enter the grids rather, through a set of resistors, the grid resistors, that are also tied to the phase inverter coupling caps. And those block the actual DC coming off the plates, or wherever the signal is coming out, whatever the inverting and non-inverting outputs or whatever are, depending on the configuration, of course, of your phase inverter. You'll block the actual DC signal, rather the DC voltage, and then the AC signal that's riding on top of it gets to pass on through via these two. And I marked these caps so I could just do this without looking at the schematic again. So these two guys got to go. This needs to be cleaned and retensioned. I noticed they were a little loose on the way in when I was doing some testing. Those are things we look at. Let's see. And we have some, let's see if these are the plates. I need to look at my pinout again, but these could be, these are like probably plate protection diodes. Shunting to ground. This is definitely ground right here. So you could be looking at the plates. This is again like a safety countermeasure to protect the rest of the amp should you have a catastrophic failure in a tube. So something to look at, And then your bias supply, I believe, is coming through here. I can't quite remember. So that's pretty much it on the top side. You have obviously your preamp filters here. You have what Uncle Doug calls an intermodal resistor. Other people call them dropping resistors, but they're there for two reasons, and they both complement each other. One is obviously to bring voltage down to where you want your plates to sit in a preamp or on a power amp, but also to provide further isolation between the stages, and that's a very important thing. Now you have this cap right here is probably to feed again, block the DC and pass along the AC to a line out. I got to check the configuration of those jacks, but this is the output jack board, and one of the things we want to do is ensure that all of these joints are still intact, and maybe we'll go ahead and proactively or prophylactically, depending on where you're sitting, bolster those with some fresh solder. And being that this is a 1990, I don't have to worry about some lead-free crap. So I'll just reinforce these with some fresh solder. This little guy right here is this guy right here, I don't know if you can see him. Should be a 4558 or something similar. Let me get you squared up here. This guy right here is actually providing the reverb circuit. It's driver and recovery. So that's what that is. We want to make sure, in addition to all this stuff, and you can see some evidence on this side. Let me try not to capture my crotch for you guys out there. you could see like a bit of a oily sheen where someone has gone in and possibly sprayed. I gotta feel it with my finger, pardon me. Yeah, so have a peek at that. Somebody used the wrong, hopefully not the wrong fluid on the input jacks, but they used a wrong process for spraying the pots. Maybe they just kind of took the chassis out of the cabinet and just sprayed it in there. But you want to be careful. You want to put some, maybe some folded up paper towel or something there. That's a little too close in, isn't it? And oh, look, I could just move the board. And you want to kind of capture that overspray. But this is what kind of scares me. Have a look at how I'm just able to, see that? I'm able to disturb the surface of this, and it's a bit oily. So you don't want to use, when you're going through cleaning jacks out, you don't want to use a product that leaves, you know, like a conductive lubricant behind, like you would kind of find in like your run-of-the-mill DeoxIT type thing that you'd spray into pots, right? So for things like jacks and switches, you want to use something like an electronics contact cleaner, something that fully evaporates and doesn't leave anything behind, okay? So we'll go through and clean those. And then on the bottom side of the board, let me wrap it up. I'm past 10 minutes, and I don't know when this thing cuts off on me. And I got some work to do, don't I? This board's beautiful as it is. I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice little scrubbing and some love, so I could do a really, really nice inspection, but that's not even necessary. That's beautiful. Look at that. Peavey did a great job here in 1990. You want to make sure, you want to reinforce these joints here on, let me see if I can do that, on these potentiometers. You want to make sure that they're not broken, even on the bits of the body that hold the actual pot to the circuit board. Sometimes those use those pull double duty rather as ground connections. So you want to make sure those are nice too. What else? And then on the back side of your tube PCB, you want to do the same thing. You want to, the best way to do it is just to zoom in after you've cleaned up everything. See, I do have to clean up here. And you want to make sure that where the socket pins are have projected through the board and have been bent over for a good mechanical connection, because they're not just gonna, you know, a good manufacturer or a good tech is not just gonna poke something through a hole and then hold it in place with solder. You're gonna get a good mechanical connection, which they did. Thank you, Peavey. Thank you. You're gonna want to make sure that there's no cracks there, because they spread. So you want to have a little IPA spray on there, and then scrub it with a soft nylon or brass bristled brush, and go to town. Do a good inspection, reinforce where you have to. Sometimes you could just install the tube and give it a little wiggle and see if anything's moving, and that'll be a dead giveaway. So, oh, some discoloration from heat, most likely, or a combination of heat and funk. So that's about it. And then we'll get to work here. Bye-bye. Top of the, what is it, afternoon. I've lost all sense of space and time, because I have this fun project that I'm working on. It's pretty cool. So I've done some cool stuff already. Replaced all the electrolytic filter caps. Replaced the 2 phase inverter coupling caps, which were actually 400 volt units, as it turns out. See if I could even get in here. Whoop. Is it focusing? Yep, there you go, 0.02s. Come on, lady. 400 volts. And yes, IC, does that distinguish this particular cap as a bad cap? No, it doesn't, because not all Illinois brand capacitors are bad. Just mainly Fender Or all the other bean counters out there who just want the cheapest of the cheap just to get the job done, and you end up with a very low tier electrolytic or capacitor in general that just has a tough time coping. So that's what we're looking at. Again, is that what's happening on this one? I can't tell you. I do know that, you know, see, 1990, do the math. So this Bravo 112 is, goodness gracious, like 33 years old. Time for a tune-up. And that's what we've done. So I will show you the top side of the board, which is where all the cool stuff is. But for a guy like me, this is kind of cool too. I'll scoot her over because I don't really want to handle it too much more. Yes, that is a large paper towel roll, which is acting as a strain relief for these ribbon cables. But I'm trying to scoot over so you can take a peek at this guy. And I mean this guy right here. Where is it? Right here. So there was a jumper here. I think it was like J34. If you're taking a peek at the schematic and you want to follow along. Or what is that? J8F. I'm sorry. That was actually right after 34 and then preceding 31. It skips a few. So there was just a bare jumper wire on the opposite side of this board. I took that off, and sure enough, if you place a 1K 5-watt wire wound resistor there, you could have yourself a nice screen resistor, which will allow me to run the bias hotter on this amp reliably, since you'll have a little more of a gulf between the plate and screen voltage. So that makes for a happy set of EL84s, or really any tube that's running the plate voltage up near the screen voltage. Though there is some debate about that, where people are saying, yeah, well, once you pass the signal, everything kind of goes up in tandem, so maybe the ratio stays about the same. Or it dips down, the other one dips up, or trends upward. So it's just something that I like to do, and it makes a difference. So there you have it. So my purpose as of this video is just because I like scrubbing them. And we got some stuff to scrub. Whoop. These guys. This is the preamp end. Can I even move this around? Yeah, there it is. This is the preamp end. And if I zoom out anymore, you'll see some things you don't want to see. So I do have a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. And I'm going to go ahead and just actually do the entirety of the business end of this circuit board, and I'll do the 2 board as well as this output jack board. I've already cleaned all the if you recall yesterday's video, among the sea of the 20 billion uploads that occur online on any given day, I did. Oh, look how cool that is! It's actually starting to dissolve that old flux. So, if you were following along yesterday, I had made a note that someone used quite a bit of generic pot cleaner, I'll just say that. And while that's all fine and well, you just want to make sure you control where it's landing, because next thing you know, it starts picking up grime and funk, and that stuff becomes conductive over time. And then the next thing you know, you're shorting things, or you're making things noisy. So just points to ponder. And it's really cool because the rest of the flux on this board, I could almost just spray it down without even passing a little stiff bristle nylon toothbrush here. So let's see what she does. Beautiful. And it's not actually the old flux that I soldered over. This is actually the flux from my rosin core eutectic Kester, or Kester. I prefer to say Kester because that just sounds funny. I'm gonna go ahead and hit these as well. These little male jumper ends, and I think this is for the reverb cables, if I'm not mistaken. Zoom out a little more. Is that possible? Sure is. And That's mighty nice. I need to come up with a ventilation system or you guys won't see me on here much longer. Because cancer is no joke. As much as I like joking and having fun, cancer's a bitch. And it's taken a lot of people that I care about away way too early. And I just don't want to be that guy or person to anybody, you know. Which is why I try to piss people off as much as I can. Maybe they won't care. There we go. Wow, this is really shaping up. I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. So I already did a pretty thorough inspection under magnification, under lit magnification. I should clarify. Yesterday, and I was quite happy with the condition of this board. Didn't require any sort of reinforcement, which made me sad and happy at the same time. But really happy for the owner, because this was not a Monday or Friday circuit board. This is probably a good solid Wednesday over in lovely Meridian, Mississippi. And if you ever have a moment, like jump on Google Maps or Google Earth or what have you, and you can actually take a walking tour and see the old abandoned buildings in the shriveled town that once stood there, plugged into it like it was some sort of life support. And it kind of was in many ways. The old redneck Riviera. I love it. All right, so a little washing spray here, final. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a speed dry using a mild setting of a very mild-mannered heat gun. So pardon the noise real quick. Maybe you'll see it flash off. Lovely. That's what I want to see. Lovely, lovely, lovely. That's a beautiful, beautiful circuit board. All right. And I'm going to do this to all the jumpers and all the connectors and all that stuff as well. We don't want any residual funk going back in. And we certainly don't want to cause any issues. See if I can get this flipped over for you. Take you on a quick tour. And look, we have a little bit on the other side. Let me see if I can hold this up for you. So, all right. Here we go with the new Panasonic ECQ coupling caps. I love these so much. We have a new bias filter right here, the new reservoir and screen supply filter nodes, and then the preamp stuff right there. And then the board's going to be a little damp here from just a little bit of residue from the alcohol spray just now. But all the funk and grime are gone. Now I've got a fair shot at doing a proper assessment and a proper clean on these jacks that were really gummed up. So I will reconnect with you guys and let you know where she lies.